Okay, my name's Lindsay McKee. I'm at Westchester University right now in the Counselor's Education program. I'll be graduating in 2 weeks. I went undergrad in Millersville, high school, Upper Marion. When I was in 8th grade, I actually had a lot of friend difficulties, lost a lot of friends. I was pretty depressed, was failing classes, stuff like that. So I went to the school counselor. She got me in touch with an outside therapist, that kind of stuff. Went through the whole program, or the whole going to weekly meetings, stuff like that, and pulled through. I haven't had any issues with it since. They gave me a lot of coping strategies. So since then I decided I wanted to do something in psychology, something like a therapist to help people out that were in similar situations. So I went into Millersville as a psychology major, and pretty much decided that I knew I had to go on after psychology.
After shadowing for hundreds of hours at Millersville, Lindsay chose to go on to grad school at Westchester University. While spending the last 2 years full-time in the Counselor's Education Department, she has accomplished more than 700 hours in the working field during her internships. The hardest step for Lindsay is next, finding a job.
So I just started applying to school, or to jobs in schools, a couple weeks ago. It's really hard. The job market is really hard for counselors because there's so many graduates and there's so little amount of jobs opening up. There have been a few charter school openings, but the city of Philadelphia, I've been looking just because it's a little easier to get in there, but they don't have any job openings because they cut all of their counselors like a year or two ago. So they all were dispersed to other places. So every time there's a job opening, we, as recent graduates, aren't hearing back. So they are within our program. They tell us pretty much try and get in wherever you can. Long-term substitute positions. We're not really expected to get a school counseling job coming right out, even for the next school year. I think a lot of times the counselors that have been in the field or have been doing something similar, like behavior specialists or something like that, they have a little bit more experience with kids, so they get the jobs, they get the interviews.
The School District of Philadelphia has been rehiring some of its previously laid off staff. However, the counselor ratios are still far from what the American School Counselor Association recommends of 250 students to one counselor.
That the jobs in inner city schools aren't good. The ratio is like one counselor to over 800 kids sometimes. In the high schools, it's really important to have lower ratios because of letters of recommendation and setting up school visits and taking a proactive stance on getting kids career ready. So I do know that the ratio is really high there. So a lot of kids aren't getting into colleges because the colleges aren't getting any letters of recommendation because the counselors don't have time. But I do know a couple people that have gone through my program that have done one or two of their internships in Philadelphia. One of my good friends did her first experience there. And the difference between mine and hers was huge. She was having trouble running any groups, doing any kind of thing, just because there was too many kids dropping in on a daily basis. They weren't able to do a lot of the things that schools in the suburbs are able to do because of parent involvement as well. A lot of things that we do as interns, we have to get forms signed by the parents just saying, we're not certified yet, but we still want to work with your child. She wasn't able, she had to end up getting verbal approval to do any of the things with these kids. As a counselor in the inner city, hopefully with this bill that's been proposed to mandate the ratios of school counselors, hopefully the caseload will be lower, but otherwise I plan to put in a lot of time that's not during the typical school hours. I have to take that time to answer all the emails, do all the consultation and stuff like that with parents and teachers, so that when the kids are actually in school, I'm able to you know, really work with them on a one-on-one basis, spend more time with them rather than, you know, glued to the computer, doing that kind of stuff. I plan to go in it with, you know, the idea of what kind of groups I want to run and when. Start off with making relationships with all the people in the community and try and get, you know, all the kids involved in something within the community. Because research shows that when kids are involved in things, they're less likely to, you know, get in trouble, like juvenile detention centers.